Are you ready to clear the clutter? Whether you're downsizing or just lightening your load, purging can be an overwhelming task. Stay tuned for tips on how I went from 3,000 square feet to less than 300 square feet. All right, I'm gonna let you in on a little secret when it comes to purging. When you start purging, you're gonna feel a tremendous amount of relief, and you're gonna actually gain more than you lose. You're gonna gain space, you're gonna gain time, you're gonna gain energy. All this stuff cluttering up your house, you have to dust and clean and move around. Now it's gonna be gone, and you're gonna feel really good once you start the process. The first thing I recommend when you go to start purging is to get rid of everything that's broken. So anything you've stashed away because you were planning to fix it later, you're gonna send it off, whatever you're gonna do with it, get rid of it. That's usually the easiest place to start because it's items that have been packed away and you're not using anyway. Eliminate multiples. Because let's face it, I can only use one pair of scissors at a time. And seriously, what is this all about? Is this a nurse thing? Every time I go somewhere with any nursing event, I get a pen. And you know you gotta bring them home. I don't know why. This isn't even half. I have a whole gallon bag full of these. They're gone. When it comes to purging clothes, it can be difficult. A lot of people just don't want to let it go, especially if you paid a lot of money for it. Although, if you went through my closet a few months ago, you might have seen a few things with the tags still on them, but we won't talk about that. So one easy way to help you purge your clothing is to simply take your hangers and flip them around backwards. And what I mean by that is, here's a stack of mine that I haven't got to yet. You actually hang them on the wrong way. And you do this to everything you have hanging in your closet. And then that way you'll know what you're actually wearing and what's just taking up space. They say that people wear 20% of the clothing they own 80% of the time. So if that's the case, you're really not wearing all that cool stuff you have hanging in your closet. So why don't you purge it and let it go? All right, it's time to go through the storage closets. Anything you've had in a closet that you haven't used in over a year, or anything you forgot you owned, it's time to get rid of it. Once you decide that you're going to purge or downsize or just clear the clutter, then just take it one space at a time. Either go through one room at a time or just one closet at a time. That way it doesn't seem so overwhelming. Also, once you decide that you want to downsize, then start right then. Even if you're planning to downsize a year from now, go ahead and get started. You may even want to go back and repurge that space a couple of times, because each time you go back and purge, you're actually going to get rid of more items. The kitchen is another room where it can be really hard to purge. One thing I recommend to do in order to figure out really what you're using and what you're not using, or if you're using something maybe once a year, if it's even worth holding on to, is combining all items in one section. For example, all the items in these drawers, which have already been purged a couple of times over the past few months, take them all and put them in another drawer. So all of these items, as well as some of the other ones. So depending on how much stuff you have to go through, that might determine what period of time it's going to take for you to do it. For me, I've already purged a couple of times, so I actually have space in some of the drawers. So now whenever we go to prepare a meal or cook something, we'll go to the one drawer, pull everything out, and then put it in the drawers they were in originally. And that way we'll know what we're truly using. Another tip is to keep the items that are multifunctional and get rid of the single-use items. So when you go to purge your more expensive items, don't get hung up on how much you paid for it. If something is sitting in the drawer and you're not using it, you're not really getting your money's worth anyway. So post it online to sell, or give it to a friend who you think might use it. Let's talk about some items that people have a hard time purging. So some of the things that I'm talking about are yearbooks. We have so many yearbooks. I have yearbooks all the way from kindergarten all the way through high school, as well as my husband's high school yearbooks, and yearbooks from the Navy. My husband's yearbooks, my Navy yearbooks. What do we do with these whenever we're trying to purge? Well, the question I ask myself is, do they bring me joy? Well, considering the only time I ever lay eyes on these books is when we transfer or when we move from one house to another, I'm thinking they don't bring me that much joy. I might have looked at them maybe once or twice over the past 20 years, and that was just when my kids were interested. So guess what? They're all going right into the recycle bin. Next, let's talk a little bit about these. Look at all these wonderful pictures that we have, all these digital photos that we all have stuffed in boxes or in multiple picture albums. What do we do with these? So my recommendation is to scan them, make them digital. Then you can actually get rid of the picture itself, but still have the photo in case you want to do something with it later. When you're sorting through your items and trying to decide whether to keep or toss, remember, if it's chipped, broken, or stained, off it goes. Go ahead and unload it. Those are easy ones to toss out. When it comes to sorting, make sure you're asking yourself yes, no questions. Forget the maybe. Does it stay or does it go? It's a yes or no. Also, only touch your item once. Once you pick it up and put it into the go pile, you can't pull it back out again to decide to keep it. And ask yourself as you're sorting, if you're having trouble, if I lost this item, would I go out and buy it and replace it? For your larger items, you can sell those online and get more money than if you sold them at a garage store. Places like Facebook Marketplace or Let Go are great ways to sell your things. But just be aware, not everyone who says they'll come and buy your item and meet you somewhere to pick it up will actually show up. I had many people who no-showed on me or at the designated time of our meetup just told me they changed their mind. So just be aware that it can be a little frustrating, but it is a great way to get a little more money than if you sold it at a garage sale. Some final tips on purging. Don't worry about purging gifts that were given to you. I guarantee you people forget what they give. I can't remember what I gave last Christmas to most of the people I gave gifts to, so I wouldn't worry about that. Also, if you purge something, more than likely you're not gonna miss it, so don't worry about that. There's not a single thing that I purged that I wish that I hadn't purged. And if you do, you can always go out and replace it. I hope these tips help as you purge your spaces. All right, I'll see you on the road. Hey, wait, where are you going? Did you forget to hit subscribe? You know, it's that button right below, the red one. Please press subscribe so you can watch more of our videos, and we'll see you next time.